When you're wandering around town, it's always worth looking out for subjects like these because they make really good street photos. But for me, they really live and die by how well you framed them. Put as much effort into your composition as the artist did when they actually painted this originally. So the first thing to do is to position yourself directly in front of it. If you want that picture to be nice and square, you need to be able to position the camera right at the middle of the picture. Now luckily, height-wise, I'm in pretty much the right position, just stood on the pavement here. But even just moving a little bit left or right, or raising the camera up and down can make a big difference to how that picture is going to look. For casual street photos, it's easy to become a little bit casual with your technique, and I feel that you can end up with a result that doesn't really do the subject justice. In this example, I've got too much of the surroundings, I'm not completely square to the subject, and I don't really like the converging lines when I point up, or don't have the mural completely centered. But I reckon we can do much better without putting in too much effort. So with the camera set to its standard lens, I find that there's way too much space around the picture here, so I'm going to zoom in for a closer look. I could, of course, just go closer to the subject, but that would put me in the middle of the road, and I don't really want to get run over. So I'm going to zoom in, first of all, and see how this looks at 2 times. And I like this degree of magnification because I get the whole picture, but I also get the bricks and the paving stones here working as a frame. Now the next thing to do is to really try and make this picture as central and as square as possible. If I point the camera up even slightly, you can see that these vertical lines are converging at the top. They're actually leaning inwards. Likewise, if I point it down here, they're beginning to angle down. I don't want that, so be very careful about positioning the phone so that it's directly in front of the subject. We want these lines at the side to be completely square. Now this is something that you could correct afterwards when you post it, but there's no substitute for just getting it right in camera when you're taking the picture. We also want the image to be centered in the middle, so I'm literally counting the number of bricks and the lines here to make sure that I've got exactly the same width on both sides. I've also got a little digital level here in the middle. If I just angle the phone to the side, you can see that go white, and when I've got it completely level, it goes yellow. These vary on different phones, so experiment and see what works for you. And do bear in mind that not all buildings or indeed murals like this are going to be completely straight. You may need to angle your phone until it visually looks correct. Well, it's looking pretty good to me now, so I'm going to try taking that picture. And then I'm going to do a couple more, just moving it very slightly side to side so that I've got a choice of pictures to go for when I can check them afterwards and make sure that I've got that picture completely centered. And the thing I like about square compositions is that they work really well when posted in a square format. I've got quite a few options to work through, so let's have a look. This first shot was the casual one, the one where I just literally walked past, saw something nice and thought, hey, I'll take a picture of that. But you can see it's pretty lazy in its composition. There's way too much space around it. It's slightly angled, it's skew. It's not particularly inspiring. That's why I wanted to take a bit more care over it, because this subject, I think, deserves it. On this second photo, I've zoomed the lens by 2 times, and now we're concentrating much more on the subject. This is the kind of size that I want it on the frame, but again, I've been a little bit careless with my actual framing itself. The camera's angled up a bit, which means these vertical lines are leaning inwards. They're converging, and I don't like the way that that looks. I want the edges of this picture to be parallel to the actual edges of the frame. It's also uncomfortably positioned near the bottom, so this one isn't really working for me. This third picture is basically the same shot, but with a bit more care and attention paid to it. I've made sure that the mural is directly in front of the camera, or rather that the camera is directly in front of the middle of it. And that allows me to get these edges completely square. My vertical lines are not leaning in or out. Everything is parallel. The other thing that I've done here is made sure that there's exactly the same amount of space on either side of the picture with the brickwork here. So it's acting as a really nice frame, and that is going to work very well posted in the square format. I'm really pleased with how this picture is looking out of camera, and it shows with just a little bit of extra effort when you're taking the picture, you can get something that works so much better.